how large were the rounds, and where are we at right now in terms of revenue?
Yeah, so we're closing in on about 20 million in revenue when I started the business. So just had to learn about online ads, had to learn about, running consumer shows, sampling, food safety, participating in large events, participating in small events.
We'll dive into your background a little bit more, learn a little bit more about Partake and all the marketing tips and secrets that got you to where you are now. Hello, Martians. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing on Mars. Today, we have a little bit of a different setup. We're doing a Christmas special, which is super exciting. This will be our only Christmas special. We have a very special guest, Ted Fleming. He is currently the founder. He was the founder and still is the CEO of Partake Brewing. Basically an award-winning craft non-alcoholic beer. They were, 2022 Globe and Mail Changemaker. He was a EY Entrepreneur of the Year. He's local. He's in Canada, based in Calgary. Super excited to have you on, Ted. Thank you for joining our Christmas special.
Thanks for having me on, Simon. This is a real honor to be the Christmas special guest.
Yeah. You have I told you just 3 days ago, you didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but you do have a nice, not an ugly sweater, it's a nice sweater. You are a penguin. What is it wearing? Is what you wearing a scarf?
Yeah, a little Christmas scarf,
Okay, so
a Santa hat. Yeah. Typical
Santa
penguin attire.
Typical penguin behavior, not the tuxedo. For me, I couldn't find anything in Korea. You'd think, a country as big, I would find something, but I couldn't. But I do have this cool little card with a Santa Claus inside a rocket ship. Very, really matches with the theme. And we got some Christmas trees. Got a nice little firework in the background. So we got something going on. First of all, thank you, Ted, so much for coming on to the show. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background before you started Partake, and then maybe a quick introduction of what Partake does as well.
Sure. So I started my working career in Toronto. I graduated from Queen's University in Kingston as an engineer. And started early on in water treatment, building some small water treatment plants throughout Ontario. And then my career shifted to renewable energy in about of 2005, 2006. There was this real push towards building wind power plants and later solar power plants. And I had 5 or 6 years of a career in that area, and actually went on to start my own renewable energy company and developed my own solar power plant during that part of my career, and then shifted onto beer for some reason. But it's been a great shift and a great over a decade now as an entrepreneur, which has been great and a lot of fun.
Yeah. I'm just looking through your profile right now. So basically between 2005 all the way up until really 2013. So for about full 8 years, you were in the kind of energy space. And then you moved over and started a company called premiumnearbeer.com. Was that your first entry into the beer industry, or were you introduced into the beer industry even before 2013?
Yeah, that was my first entry. So like in the 2010, 2012 timeframe, I was building that solar power plant that I still own today, project managing it largely. And like during that time, I'd become a dad for the first time in 2010. And in 2010, I'd had these complications due to Crohn's disease, which I'd been diagnosed with back in 2005. And those two kind of life events really set me on a new path of like wanting to eat and drink healthier. Giving up alcohol was a huge component of that. So during that 2010, 2012 phase where I was building the power plant, I was like really trying to give up alcohol, but it was hard because there weren't great alternatives, like in terms of just like the product itself. Everything was a lager. But more importantly, it was very hard for me to go out and
Mm,
socialize and enjoy those social occasions with friends, families, holidays, etc. Without great options. And I kind of struggled and kind of went back and forth between being on off alcohol and then maybe reverting back to it because I just got bored. And so when I sort of came out of that
mm,
2012 period, the solar power plant was built, and I was thinking about like what should I be doing next. And I was struggling with this challenge that on a personal level, and that sort of created that was the seed that
right.
created um, partake eventually. But the first step towards that of solving that problem was that company Premium Near Beer, which was importing non-alcoholic beer largely from Europe and selling it online. And I can recall my business plan at the time was, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll just have to drink all the beer myself. And luckily, luckily I did sell all the beer and had more and more customers, and it really took
Wow.
off. And I built a fantastic community around that online store, and that was really the jumping off point to partake later on.
Yeah, and nowadays I know you can speak more on the numbers. Non-alcoholic beers, that industry is booming very, very fast because you mentioned you started it because you had a personal issue, a personal problem, Crohn's disease, to kind of combat, and you still wanted to socialize. But there's a lot of other reasons to drink non-alcoholic beers, whether you might be socializing, but people are now living further and further away from the main hub, the downtown area. Maybe they have to drive. Maybe there are other reasons that they have to drink non-alcoholic beer. The industry itself is growing really, really fast, but it's very cool to see that you started this whole journey because there was a personal issue that you wanted to solve. And oftentimes some of the most successful founders do that, right? Because they if like you said, if anything else, you're solving an issue for yourself. So that's really, really cool to hear. Did so you left your whole energy career behind for the beer industry. Was that just 100% because of your personal um this personal problem you wanted to solve, or was there a founder that you met along the way, or someone that you met along the way that kind of pushed you towards the non-alcoholic beer movement?
Yeah, I think for me, like I'm always looking for problems to solve, and this one was, near and dear to my heart, and it was important for me.
Yeah.
And I'll tie that back into sort of what you were just saying about like a lot of a lot of entrepreneurs come into businesses because they are problem solvers at heart, and it's meaningful to them. And it wasn't about
Hmm.
like total addressable market. It wasn't about I wasn't trying to build a business because it had this huge economic potential. I was really just trying to solve a problem. And if it would have remained a small business, I still it still would have been valuable to me, and it would have been valuable to my community because I was solving a real problem for a lot of people. And we got a lot of feedback early on of like, this is a dumb idea, it's not going to work, the market's not big enough. And in hindsight, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not getting that feedback, you're probably too late to the game. And yeah, there are a lot of companies trying to
Mm,
come into this market today because they see that total addressable market, they see the opportunity. But we've got an incredible lead against most of them, and we in many ways have the brand story and the authenticity of like, we were in this first, and we're in it for the right reasons, and we're in it for reasons that'll keep us in it, you know economics aside. Like, we're here for the long haul. So um I
beautiful.
think that's really important. And I think if you're a problem solver at heart and you're solving real problems for people, good things will happen.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, excited to dive into it. We'll dive into your background a little bit more, learn a little bit more about Partake and all the marketing tips and secrets that got you to where you are now. And you guys we'll talk a little bit about the numbers as well. But first, we got a little bit of a tradition. We always take a shot of hot sauce. And basically, throughout the interview, I will be asking you tough questions that other founders, other marketers would want to learn, but maybe you don't want to share. And at any point, if you don't want to share that, flashing lights go off. We have a strobe light. The Martians will speak. and and then you can plead the fifth and take another shot of hot sauce. So let's start the show off. What do you have for us today?
Yeah, so I decided to support a Canadian brand. It's called La Pimenterie from Montreal, Quebec. It's called the
Okay.
Newton, which I guess, given my engineering background, probably that one just appealed to me on the shelf. But here we go. Yeah, couldn't really find a Christmas themed hot sauce, but this one's pretty cool.
Totally fine. What's in it?
So
What
this one
pepper
is
is in it?
it's apple chipotle, and ingredients we got here are cider vinegar, carrots, tomato paste, habanero peppers, chipotle peppers, ancho peppers,
Okay.
guajillo peppers. Wow, there's a lot of peppers in this.
A lot of peppers. Okay, but I think the main one will be the habanero. So it's going to be on a lighter spectrum, but that's fine. I have a trending hot sauce in Korea. This is a lot of people are doing challenges of this. It is spicy. It is not as spicy as the Carolina Reaper that I have back in Vancouver, back at home, but it is spicy and it's trending, and it should help us with the hashtag game. So I'm gonna give this a shot. Let's. I got a shot glass. I don't know if you're gonna just you got a shot glass or you got a spoon. Whatever works.
Yeah, I got a little
I'm gonna
shot
pour.
glass here. Actually, as a non-drinker, this was kind of hard to find in the house, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay. I don't know if I poured too much. I'm so bad at this. I've done it so many times, but I'm still bad. But anyways,
Cheers.
cheers. Happy holidays.
This is the first time for me. This is never had this on a podcast before, so kudos to you for bringing this out.
Oh man. So there's like capsaicin in here, which is like concentrated cayenne peppers. Oh. Okay,
I
it's
had to
hot.
bring some. I had to bring
what
some
is that?
partake to help me out here.
So tell us, so partake, that base is non-alcoholic. Is it truly non-alcoholic? Because I know some beers do have a little bit of alcohol.
Yeah, so
in
we
it.
have trace amounts of alcohol. Of like on our label, we put 0.3% alcohol by volume. For for context, that's like the same as an orange juice or a piece of chocolate cake. Like all food products have trace amounts of alcohol. The 0.0 in some ways is a bit of a misnomer because those products do have trace amounts, but they're all very very accessible for people that are looking to avoid alcohol.
Cool. Okay, I want to take it back to where we ended off, where you ended your journey at your previous company, your first company, which was the premiumnearbeer.com. You bought a bunch of beers that were from Europe, and then you sold it all. And then in 2017, so you did it for about 4 years before you moved on and started Partake. Did you learn something during that period of time that made you think, you know what, I got to make my own beer? Or did an opportunity come up for you? You met a manufacturer or whatever, or you just got to a certain scale where you made a certain amount of money and you're like, okay, now it's time for me to make my own beer? Like what made you make the decision to stop premiumnearbeer.com and then go on to Partake?
Yeah, there are a couple reasons. Like first and foremost, like I think what I learned and what was really important about that business was not only did I build a decent sized small business, but sorry, the hot sauce is getting to me now. It was really about building community. Like that website and what I was doing really brought people who had that same problem that I was the one trying to solve. It really created a home and a community for those people, and they were huge. They were advocates for me. They helped sell the product into bars and restaurants, but they were great in terms of feedback. Like they would scour the world for like, Ted, you should get this product in. You're right there.
Yeah.
they'd ask Ted, can you get this product from, from Portugal, or can you get this product from Japan or Korea? And, I bring some of them in, but around 2015, 2016, a lot of them started asking, hey, Ted, can you get craft non-alcoholic beer? And I went certainly locally, where like I was in Toronto at that time, talked to a lot of brewers, basically had the door slammed in my face. It's not going to work. Market's not big enough, too niche, etc.
Mm,
And so that was sort of the time where I was like, well, if I'm ever going to take a crack at doing this myself, now's the time. And so both those businesses I did run them in parallel for a period of time. But, one of the challenges, like certainly
okay.
with online business, and, I'm looking out my window here in Calgary and there's a lot of snow. Like one of the challenges was shipping in winter. We had glass
Mm,
beer bottles we were trying to ship from Toronto to Vancouver, and they had to go through Calgary, and it was minus 40. Um, you know,
mm,
Lots of shattered glass ended up on people's doorsteps. And so that was a big learning about, okay,
yeah.
like there are challenges to e-commerce for liquids for sure. um, I think another big thing was i had I had obviously a website that could be accessed from all over the world, and I had people calling me all the time and they were like legitimately angry that I couldn't ship to them in the United States or to the UK. And it wasn't because I couldn't ship there, but it was like crazy expensive. And and it really wasn't above board
Yeah.
because the labeling was not compliant. So every country has different food and beverage labeling requirements, and without that, I really wasn't operating the business. I wouldn't have been operating the business above board. So I didn't do that, and having my own product and my own label and the control over that allowed me to, now I can sell the product into any country in the world, because if I want to, I can create the label and have it compliant in those countries. So quite a few things that caused me to shift towards
Mm,
my own product, but that initial business was critical for me to learn and understand. It was a bit of a crucible for learning about the category, the customer, the products, um, and just gave me a lot of the confidence to go on and launch my own brand.
that's so important. It's such an important tip for other founders that are listening, because what you did was you didn't just drop the ball on your previous startup and just kind of went all in on one thing right away. You did them both kind of in parallel at the same time, which mitigates risk to some extent. How large was premium near beer at that time in terms of revenue or whatever you can share? And then where did Partake have to get to in order for you to be like, whoa, this is actually an opportunity. It's time for me to drop premium near beer completely and just go all in on the other on Partake.
Yeah, I think like premium near beer, I think it was maybe about a $350,000 annual revenue business just for Canada. So again, I couldn't really access the US market. Um, and so,
Yeah,
that inability to scale it um, was sort of, a bit of a tipping point. We launched the brand,
yeah,
and I say we because I do view my customers and my community as partners in the pivot. Um, and
yeah,
it was launched on Kickstarter in the spring of 2017. We didn't have the product at that time. It was just in concept. I had a recipe. I had like
yeah.
a prototype, but like no actual product to ship. So Kickstarter in the spring, we had a $10,000 goal. We raised the $10,000 in the first 3 hours. We actually made it onto like the hot projects page on Kickstarter, and then we ended up raising $30,000 by the end of that campaign. And that was, again,
Wow.
it wasn't because it was because of that community that was like, hey, I'll support you no matter what. And there was one particular customer that said like, Ted,
Wow.
I hate the style of product you're launching here, which was an IPA, very popular in craft. But this
Yeah.
particular person was like, I hate IPAs, but I'm still going to buy 10 cases from you
Mm,
because I know eventually you will brew a style that I like, and I want to support you because like you are the only person
wow.
actually out there trying to make things better for people like me. So that was like a huge moment that I'll remember the rest
So
of my
powerful.
my life of like that was like, wow, I really am having an impact, a positive
Mm,
impact on my customers. And commercial, obviously some hiccups on the first commercial batch, but eventually got that out to customers in September. And then, still worked, largely sold Partake through premium near beer. So they were kind of like, they were symbiotic for a while. And then once we got our biggest customer, the LCBO in Ontario, which is the government liquor channel, that was sort of the point where I decided, hey, I gotta really focus on Partake. And as much as it was a bit painful to kind of, some of the customers I had drank non-alc wines and didn't drink beer, so I did have to abandon them a bit,
Yeah.
and I kind of held on to that service for a little bit of time, but eventually I just didn't have the bandwidth and needed the focus to pursue Partake. And you know what, other companies have filled the void with similar businesses to premium near beer in the last couple of years. So I think that was the right move for me.
Yeah. And so obviously now that was 2017. You started that. The rest is history. 6 years now into the business. You guys have won so many awards. Globe and Mail Changemaker 2022, EY Entrepreneur of the Year last year, and the list goes on. I think you guys have won like more than 10 awards during your period of time. Where are we at right now at Partake? Give us some figures. Have you guys raised some money? I know you guys raised a couple of rounds. How large were the rounds, and where are we at right now in terms of revenue?
Yeah, so we're closing in on about 20 million in revenue. Fundraising, we did a series
Wow.
A in deep COVID in early 2020, which was a bit of a fundraise. We raised 4 million US for the series A. And then
Okay.
this spring, just before a lot of changes to the market, luckily, we were able to raise 16 and a half US in a Series B. So I would say pretty
Wow.
successful.
So roughly 20,
Yeah,
20 million
21
roughly
Canadian.
total
Yeah.
raised.
In the
21
last
Canadian.
21 in the last round, and maybe about close to 30 in Canadian dollars total capital.
Okay. And if you can, who are some of the investors that have invested into the fund?
So we've largely got consumer packaged goods, liquor, beverage, alcohol specific type of investors who are really keen on the non-alc space and the long-term viability. And there's this huge market emerging of just moderation. You're seeing like younger millennials drink less, and then Gen Z drink even less. And we're breaking down that you have to drink alcohol to be cool. You have to drink alcohol to socialize. You have to drink alcohol in all these situations. It was the norm when I was going through that phase of life. Today, it's much less about that. It's about having a mindful socialization, mindful participation in whatever you do, and moderation is cool today. And so
there's also a lot more options, right? With the cannabis industry growing and THC, like a bunch of other options as well.
Tons of like
right?
other alternatives, but I would say like products like ours that didn't exist before, where you can say, hey, I'm going to drink non-alc, but I can still have a great craft beer experience. And in our case, it tastes exactly like an alcoholic beer, and it's in some cases it's only 10 calories for an entire can. So people who are coming into the category,
10 calories.
10 calories.
Is that possible?
Apparently
Wait,
it is
10 calories. So what was the secret to that? Like, how did you manage? Because I think like most, even like some of the like, I don't know if you guys have Neutral out in Calgary. Some of the vodka sodas, like they're like 80, 90, 70 calories. 10 calories. Is it? There's like, what's the secret behind that?
One component of it, the lack of alcohol, certainly is a component of that. Alcohol has the same caloric density by weight as fat, so like 8 calories per gram. So that's definitely part of the story. But even within non-alc, we are unique in like this super low calorie option. I can't tell you the secret recipe. So I may have to take a shot for that, but
Oh, I think okay. Oh, yeah. I think the
Oh, I
Martians
see it.
are
I see a
ringing.
siren going on, strobe
Yeah,
lights.
there's a sign. Okay, it's okay. We'll do a shot together. That's totally fine. Another shot of capsation. You might have to chase it with some of your
Yeah,
partake beer.
I've got mine at the ready. I wasn't able to get you any in Korea, unfortunately, but we'll work on that.
What flavor is that
This
before we
is
do
our
the shot?
Radler, which is it's a mixture of our blonde and cold pressed fruit juices. So pretty nice, nice
All right.
fruity. Kind of takes a little bit of the edge off of off of these.
I like the
All
branding.
right, cheers, Simon.
Cheers. Okay. Gotta be careful with what I asked you now. 2 shots in, adding two more, and I might not be doing so well. All right, so proprietary kind of making of the product. Cannot share too much about how you guys make it, but 10 calories a beer, amazing stuff. So, aside from the actual making of the product, so the product is good. So you got a very loyal fan base. How did you guys grow? Um, wow. How did you guys grow in the beginning in terms of marketing? Was it a lot? Did you do a lot of kind of in person? It seemed like community was a huge thing. Was that the biggest thing, especially in the early days, or did you guys run a lot of ads? Was it what were some of your main marketing channels in the beginning?
Yeah, it was a lot of test and learn. Like I came from being an engineer, and therefore, like I didn't really have, and a project manager, construction project manager, didn't really have a lot of training in marketing when I started the business. So just had to learn about online ads, had to learn about um, running consumer shows, sampling, food safety, participating in large events, participating in small events. Um, running consumer feedback surveys. A lot of it was just I had to learn from basically square one. Didn't have that as a training or experience from anything academic or from my work career up to that point. So the thing I found particularly with our product was tasting is believing. And so every time we get, we have this interaction where it's like, try the product. Oh, it's great. I love this type of beer. Hey, guess what? It's non-alcoholic. People are like, wow, really? I wouldn't have guessed. And then it's like, oh, and by the way, it's only 10 or 20 calories a can. And that's where people are like, wow, like I would drink that all week long as my regular go-to beverage. And so like that's really something we try to do in any type of partnership or anything we do. We want to get consumers trying the product because tasting is believing.
Yeah, and so I guess you guys a huge channel for you guys was just the in person stuff, right? You guys did a lot of probably events and fairs and different kind of tastes. I don't know what were some of your main the main channels that you found worked for
Yeah,
you
so
guys.
that stuff all worked prior to COVID, and like we were lucky we'd gotten enough of that done prior to shutdown. Obviously, companies that did sampling weren't able to do it for almost 2 years in Canada, and so we were lucky that we were able to get that, and we really invested in that prior to COVID, and we really built up we did really well with PR, being like first to market, having the authentic story that
Right.
I had. I actually had some, decent PR from, and that audience obviously that was supporting me from Premium Near Beer as well. So, a few different factors that really put us into a really good position going into COVID. And then, once that happened, we were actually able to secure, some of the biggest retailers in Canada and we were still generating like this really important word of mouth advertising that came from all that work we had done prior to COVID. It really made for a successful launch in the largest retailers in Canada, like Loblaws and Sobeys Safeways, Metro, etc.
Wow. Um, when it comes to PR, that seems to be a huge thing for kind of consumer products, because when you can have the big channel speak on your behalf, it reaches a large audience. Did you do a lot of PR in house, or did you outsource a lot of your PR activities?
We've done a little of both. As we started to grow our business in the U.S., we outsourced that a bit more. In Canada, where we're a bit more local, a bit closer to the ground. Maybe did a bit more of that from an internal basis, but um, yeah, it's I think we're definitely a leader in this space. We have a strong opinion. We're really about, as a brand, we're about inclusivity, um, around beer, healthy choices, and all while keeping beer fun, which it's all about, right? It's all about getting people together and having a good time together. And beer is just a way
Yeah.
for a social lubricant, and we think that can happen in non-alc. And I think that message really resonates with the media, but also clearly it resonates with our customers and our consumers.
Yeah, and then you also mentioned ads. At which point, 'cause it started in 2017. At which point did you feel like, okay, we're ready for running ads, right? Because when it comes to marketing, you don't want to run ads too early without the branding, without the customer advocacy, without the testimonials, and without a good image, public image. You're probably not in the right space to run ads. For you guys, when did you guys start testing ads?
Yeah, we always did some digital testing. I think we invested more in digital advertising due to the lack of other options during COVID. I think for us as a brand, as a consumer facing brand, something you can buy in major retail, like that's really our
Yeah,
biggest point of attack. Is if we can get lots of real estate within a store where people can buy and they're in a buying mood, and they're considering, like, they're going up to the
right,
non-alc shelf and they're saying, hey,
right.
I'm having a party, what am I going to buy for non-alc? If Partake can really own the advertising space within the store, that's the most effective. So that's what we're really focused on, is building out our footprint in stores. And we have the best variety within craft non-alcoholic beer. We have more SKUs, more flavors than we can put in retail. But I go to my local store here and I see six different styles of Partake, and that's fantastic, and it creates that really cohesive brand billboard actually within store, and that's critical for us.
So retail is the biggest channel, but you've always done some PPC, even like in like year one. You tested out some. What about now? Almost 6 years into the business, $20 million company now. I guess retail has been a huge driver. Are you guys spending a lot on ads now? Now that you're 6 years in, or still very minimal in terms
Yeah,
of
it's
ad
quite
spend?
minimal, I would say, relative to the size of our company. I think as we start to build our business in the US, we almost have two businesses today. We have like our established business in Canada, which we do things differently because of that brand awareness and the distribution footprint we have. And then in the US, we almost look like a startup, and it's like, okay, what do you do? Like, let's act like a startup when it comes to the US side of our business and do things a lot scrappier. And there's definitely learnings we can take from Canada. And one of those key ones is building up in retail, using that retail as the place to really get brand exposure, and then getting out, now that we've reopened, getting out and sampling the product. So those are our key thrusts as a brand. And digital is very, we're very tactical with how we use digital to overlay and support those two other activities.
How much are you guys spending right now on digital spend?
It's pretty minimal. It'd probably be about 10K a month, but don't quote me on that. It ebbs
Yeah,
and flows a little bit with
yeah,
various cycles for us, but that
of
might be a
course.
that might be a
Yeah.
baseline.
And like, what where are you guys at in terms of like do you have stats on what the LTV of a customer is, and also like CPA on your ad spend. You guys have those kind of stats?
Yeah, I think we do in our digital channel. In the retail channel, it's really difficult because there's leakage into like, okay, does a particular ad, does it drive to our e-commerce store? Do they go to Amazon? Do they go to their local shop and buy it? Like we, some of that picture doesn't come into focus for us. So I don't know if I have to take a shot on that one, but it's hard for me to share those. We're working on trying to hone those in, but oh yeah, there we go.
All right. Oh, man, these Martians are just
All right.
all
Well,
over
I hope this
us
is
today. Okay.
I hope this is
all
the
right.
last one because I don't know if I can take any more because these are one of the ones I'm taking are like they don't like off the hop. They're not like that much of a hit, but they start to build in your
Yeah.
mouth, and I think I'm hitting my max here.
Let's do it. Let's do a smaller one. Let's do it. We'll do it. We'll do a smaller hot sauce shot. Maybe even take like just a
All right.
quarter bit. But cheers.
Cheers.
All right. And we'll oh yeah, it does. Does like kind of compound. It's getting worse and worse as the shots go on.
I don't think these hot sauces
I
are
think
meant to be consumed in this way. I don't think.
I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't say anything on the label that says you should be taking 3 shots.
It should say please enjoy responsibly somewhere.
It should. Yeah.
Responsible.
We gotta update the labeling rules for hot sauce. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. All right. So we talked about ads. We talked about retail channels. One of the keys to retail products doing well in retail is, of course, the packaging and the product. How do you think about just the whole design of product and packaging? Talk to us a little bit about that, and also the name Partake. Tell us about the origin of that. Like how did you come up with that as well? That's a huge part of your design, is just the name itself. Yeah, would love to hear your thoughts.
Just give me a moment here. Still working on some things. Yeah, so Partake, like I think it was someone else suggested the name to me. But it was in a conversation, and I was explaining to this person, I was like, this is the challenge for me and people in my community. Like we enjoy beer, we enjoy being social, we want to be out, we want to be part of like these life events, so much stuff in so many of these things in North America, whether it's like a wedding, it's a birthday, all these things happen around, like they revolve around alcohol.
There you go.
When it's an adult centric or even a family centric event, alcohol was so central to that socializing and getting together and celebrating. And this, as I was explaining this challenge that I was like, me and my community were trying to overcome, this person said, "Oh, like you guys just want to partake." I get it. And I was like yeah,
I was gonna
that's
guess
it,
that.
right? So
I love the name.
It came through like, oh, and it's also a common thread, right? Like it could be someone who's like, they're, they might be pregnant, and it's like, hey, I still want to have a drink with my girlfriend. It's someone who's given up alcohol completely, like me, or it's someone who's just like, hey, I just got an early morning tomorrow, whether I'm golfing at 6 a.m. or I got to get up and do a run or go to work or whatever it is. I just want to be, I got stuff I got to do tomorrow, but I still want to go out and participate and be at that event and spend time with my friends or family. So, I think that the brand name, it really resonates with people, and it's something that, really comes out of my personal experience and the experience of my community that helped launch the brand. So, yeah, really proud of the name and what it represents and how it represents us. Simon, just remind me the other part of the question. Oh, you okay? You okay there?
Yeah.
We need to call 911.
I, yeah, I think I might. I don't know the line for 911 in Korea. I think it's like 112, but I'll have to Google it. Second part of the question was just overall packaging. Sorry, I'm like my tongue is just on fire right now. But like product design, packaging, and all that, because that's a huge part of the whole experience, consumer experience. How do you think about just the design and
Yeah.
everything?
So like again, my community was so important in that first iteration. Like we're still on the first iteration of our
Right.
packaging, almost 6 years in, which is very. It's a very long time to be on a single package design, particularly for a new brand. Um, One of the things I did was crowd. Like I had maybe 9 different designs that I had to work with a designer on, and I put that out to that community and said, "Hey, like help me choose the brand, what the brand looks like." And that community, it might have been 100 people
Mm.
responded, but at least it allowed me to hone in on like, hey, this is the brand, and we've
How large is your community right now? Like how
oh
many in
yeah,
your
I'd
database?
say between like our email list and social, we're 50,000 today.
50,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So 50,000 people and voices.
but just recall at
What
this time at
percentage?
the time when I launched it,
Yeah.
it was probably only 2,000.
Whoa. So you guys, so you started Partake at 2,000 and then from 50,000 in the last 6 years. Okay. Incredible growth. And this is non-alc, by the way, folks, just non-alc. That's how fast this industry is growing. But 50,000 different voices. How do you, what's your main channel to reach out to them? Is it mainly email? Do you find the most engagement on email? Or is it mostly on social? What's your main medium?
Yeah, we really get great response from email in particular. The other channels are definitely effective
Okay.
and definitely important channels for communication with the community, but I think email houses like our most active and engaged customers, and like they're the ones that are always looking for like online deals or events or new bars or restaurants that that are bringing in our product where they can get it, and it
Mm,
broadens their experience. So I think email's been super key for us, and I'll touch on the packaging side too from a retail perspective. Like it was important to us from the get go to have a consistency of design across the different flavors and a really recognizable brand when you could see, hey, someone across the room drinking a can, and you're like, they're drinking Partake. I wanted that recognition at a distance because of that consistency. There are a lot of beer brands out there, particularly in craft, that have eclectic designs, and it's kind of like they're cool, but it's hard to tell what it is. I thought it was really important for me and my brand to have that
mm,
consistency of brand feel, and in retail that works exceptionally well because you get this, you have this cohesive, almost billboard effect if you get multiple flavors of your product next to each other, and it's quite powerful.
right. That's amazing. So email list works the most. Are you guys also active on
We
social?
definitely are. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm pretty active
Okay.
myself on LinkedIn. Company has a LinkedIn page as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where we connected. That's awesome. And like in terms of demographics, just so people can get a sense of like what are your demographics that the main audience that usually like non-alc?
yeah, you know what? It's shifted a lot over time, right? Like I talked about how that early community were people that looked like me. They kind of had to drink non-alcoholic beer, whether it was for a health, medical reason, could have been issues with addiction, etc. Like it was this very core group. Tended to skew a little bit older. Today, you're seeing this huge influx, and this is what's driving the growth in the category. Is like people like health and wellness. I'm really keenly aware of what I put in my body. Alcohol for a lot of our new customers does have a time and a place, but it's, it's less of a time and a place than, and it's fewer occasions than it was before. And non-alc fits into weekday
Right.
drinking occasions. It fits into a lot of weekday, like weekend daytime drinking occasions. So people are discovering, um, you know, partially because there are great alternatives like Partake today, that alcohol doesn't, a great beer doesn't have to be alcoholic. And so, one of our things is like, hey, look, alcohol doesn't own good times. You can have a great time with a non-alcoholic beer. And I think more and more consumers are realizing that, and it tends to be skewing a little bit younger towards millennial and Gen Z consumers.
Wow. Okay, that's good to know. All right, we'll end it off. I wish we had more time so that our bodies can recover and take more shots. But let's end it off. I want to know, and maybe for the audience too, what's next? You guys have just raised 16.5 million US and previously a $4 million round. So you guys have a lot of money in the bank. Revenues are really healthy, growing really fast as well. What's next for you guys? What are you planning to do over the next 6 to 12 months? Any cool initiatives, cool plans, expansion opportunities? What's next for you guys?
Yeah, I think like the thing that we're always trying to do is trying to just get our product out into more retailers, more bars and restaurants. We're really on a mission to make it easy to that inclusive, healthy, fun message. Like part of inclusion is getting our product out there, getting it into more bars and restaurants, more retailers, making it super easy for consumers who are saying, hey, I want to get on board with this. I want to moderate. But I still want to have great options that allow me to socialize and allow me to feel good. Like our job first and foremost is to just grow the accessibility of our product. Any listeners out there that feel they can help us on that mission, I'm super keen to connect, and LinkedIn's a great place to connect with me. So that's first and foremost. We talked about brand. We're probably going to do a touch up on the branding side and give it a little bit of a more modern feel. So that's pretty exciting for next year. And as market evolution goes, we've become the number one non-alc brand in all of Canada, which is amazing. That almost never happens for a challenger brand like us. And we're hoping to replicate that in the US, but realizing that, we got to take some baby steps first there before getting to that place. And we're hoping to make some critically important steps in the US this next year.
Amazing. Well, Ted, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you being a good sport and taking the shots of hot sauce. We usually end off the show with a shot of hot sauce, but I think we'll take a break from that. We'll do it next time in the new year. All the best, happy holidays, and hopefully the next time we catch up would be really excited to hear about where Partake goes from there. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, awesome, Simon. Thank you for having me on. It was great discussion today, and look forward to a catch up in the future.